Hey, everybody. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Okay. So I'm sure some of you are wondering how I got Ted Murphy to be a runway model. Well, don't get too excited. I'm not an influencer or a blogger. I'm just somebody who's really excited about fighting poverty. And I'm really, really thrilled to be here, surrounded by people who use their networks, social media, and their communities to make the world a better place. Because that's what this is all about, right? Designing the kind of lives we want to have and the types of communities that we want to live in. Well, Ted Murphy and I both live in Orlando. And when we were connected, he learned about the ethical fashion company I started in Haiti, Redesigning. And Ted decided that he wanted to be a voice for those who needed help. To give you guys a little bit more context, let me start at the beginning. It was 13 days after the horrific earthquake that destroyed Haiti that our plane landed on the broken tarmac in the capital city of Port-au-Prince. And within moments, I was standing in her rubble and in the fire. I immediately went to a distribution center, and it was my job to identify tent camps and to bring tarps and water bottles. And I was working in this camp one day when a woman grabbed my arm and she said, "Blanc, moi pas besoin de l'eau, mais moi veux travail." And then she smiled this beautiful smile, and she touched my hair. And then she walked away. A few moments later, I found out what she said was, "White lady, I don't really want any water, but I need a job." And her words pierced me. And I became obsessed with her and with this idea. And so I did what any rational person would do. I came back to Orlando. I quit my job at the United Way. I sold my house. And I went back to Haiti permanently with about $7,000, a better tent, and still no plan. But a few weeks into my move, I met this woman, Jolina De La Roche. And she is an incredible entrepreneur who turned her tent into an orphanage for kids who lost their parents during the earthquake. As I learned more about Jolina's story, I found out that she not only lost her home in the earthquake, but also her small business. Now, Jo would be the first person to say how grateful she was for the distribution of things that came to her, the tents, the tarps, the flashlights. But she also told me that the distributions of oil and rice were fewer and further between, and she honestly didn't know how she'd continue to feed the kids that she had made in her orphanage. I told Jolina that I was having a lot of the similar concerns, and a few days later, I found the courage to tell her that I'd been thinking about my time when I lived in Africa, and I'd seen people making sandals out of tires that they found in the streets. Well, those conversations that began in Jolina's tent orphanage soon manifested themselves into a small job training center where we made sandals from recycled tires. Now, believe it or not, 10 months after the earthquake, we had our first prototype. And here's the crazy thing. People actually started to buy them. And here's why it was so crazy. They were not only ugly, they were uncomfortable, and they were heavy. But it's okay because we carried on and we persevered. And what we found is that not only did we change the style of sandals that we made, but we changed the foundation of who we were. That $7,000 ran out really quickly. So I did what I knew and I started a nonprofit, Rebuild Globally. And Rebuild Globally became a catalyst for all the impact we had in Haiti. But I always knew we weren't just a charity. We are something different. So we created the other side, Redesigning, a Haitian-owned and operated ethical fashion company. And that is how we saw radical transformation in Haiti, a nonprofit that trains vulnerable people, getting them ready for work. And then the other side, the direct side of employment, when there's a 40% unemployment rate and the worst disaster to hit the Western Hemisphere collided, we absolutely had to create the business. Now, a lot of people have an idea of Haiti. They have many thoughts about what they think of her, but let me tell you about the spirit of Haiti from my perspective. She has this spirit that allowed us to get through some of the darkest days, and I'll tell you, in the last 7 years, there's been a lot of dark days. But her spirit is what allowed a group of untrained people to be a global ethical fashion brand that private labels for Kenneth Cole, has created over 100 jobs in Haiti, and has opened up a second job training center in the middle of a refugee camp. And I think it's also that spirit that has allowed us to collaborate with people like Ted Murphy and companies like IZEA. Because the idea of partnership and collaboration, it's not just a buzzword. it can't just be a buzzword, because this is how we redesign the types of lives that we want and the types of communities that we live in. So with that, if you guys are interested in buying a pair of the most impactful sandals on the planet, visit us at our booth. I'd love to meet you guys. I would love to talk to you more. And also, there's been some word on the street that you have no idea what the gift is inside your IZEA pack. So that little circle, thank you, Thais, that little circle is actually an earbud holder. This product, we sold 12,000 last year, and we're able to create 3 new jobs. So every time you wrap your earbuds inside your new, we call it a taco too, think about how the possibilities of job creation when we buy products with integrity. Thank you so much.